Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We'll get started here in just a couple of minutes. We're on time finally today. That's good news. All right. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Yeah, good morning. Excellent. It sounds like we're good. Thanks for the audio and visual test. We got this down pat. All right, so let's see here. We'll give it another minute or so to get started. Wonderful. Okay. Okay. Let me see, where's the chat thing here? Here we go. All right, cool. All right, good morning, everybody. Here's the camera. Happy Wednesday. It's Serge Berger here from thesteadytrader.com. And what I'd like to do today is have quite a bit of a chat about this whole energy play. That we have such a bullish thesis on that, and I'd like to go into that a little bit here because I think we're just getting to the point where this is becoming, it's now finally triggering, and so what we'll do is we'll look at a couple charts to show you this and put it into perspective. But we're going to start off with my chart over here that is going to show you the performance of different stuff. I think this is always a great way to start. And so let's do that. Let me make just one quick note. Okay. All right. This is our morning call. If you've never been here before, I'm Serge Berger from thesteadytrader.com. We're going to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes together going through some of the top things on my notepad. Take out a pen and a piece of paper, and let's do this. Very important. If you please could give us a thumbs up like on the video, that would be awesome because that allows us to be able to continue to do this this morning call show. And also, if you could subscribe to the channel, please, that all really helps us being able to be able to enhance the show. And then, of course, it allows you, very importantly, to be alerted in real time when we go live with analysis and ideas and all that stuff. So that's it. Okay, now let's start off with our reminder of where we are in terms of performance. We've been looking at this chart now for quite some time. I would encourage everyone to create something like this so you can track what's performing and what's not performing on a year-to-date basis. I've got a bunch of things here, and I do change what's on this thing. This is not meant to be a static chart, but you can see it's set to year-to-date, and basically I've got a bunch of things. What's very clear is that U.S. equities continue to underperform year-to-date. That does not mean that they can't catch up, but they are dramatically underperforming. And I know this is not something people want to hear, but it's one of our base cases that we're going to see the S&P 500 probably do low to single digit returns for the next 5 to 10 years. And that is not going to be fun looking back for a lot of people if they don't start changing the kind of stocks and really the composure of their portfolio that they have. So what else is doing really well? Well, I've got a new ticker on here, by the way, and this is a single name stock because I'd like to lead this into the energy stuff. Again, German stocks, EWG, the ETF, up 32%, Poland up 43%, copper up 20%, silver, as you guys know, I talk about it every day because I'm long silver, up 20-ish%. You got French stocks up a lot. You got emerging markets doing well, right? And even utilities, and the Nasdaq is up 3-ish%. The S&P probably roughly about the same, maybe a little bit less. So here we are, right? Now, what's to do? Well, let's just quickly review our charts of the S&P, the indices, and then we're going to go into the whole uranium and energy play. If you are a member of our heat seeker product, you know that we have a very, very, very bullish view on energy, on the whole materials play. We think there's just a tremendous amount of potential there, and I think it's just about getting unlocked. The rhetoric from the White House is getting more and more bullish on that. You've probably seen that over the past couple of weeks or so, and so we'll go back to this chart here in just a second. But let me just quickly update you guys where we are as far as the S&P 500 is concerned. I just like to point this one out because, again, I know a lot of people just care about the S&P, which again is why a lot of people are going to blow up their accounts over the next 5 to 10 years, but it is not unimportant to look at the S&P. So where are we? Well, really, as far as yesterday is concerned, we had another update of, not quite 60 basis points for the SPY ETF. The NASDAQ looks identical, as you would imagine. It's all driven by 7 stocks, the two of them, for as far as the major beta is concerned. Look, we cannot rule out, I just want to reiterate, at this point, we cannot rule out a move back to all-time highs and possibly above that. The question is really, is it going to be another situation that looks like we've had over the past, 15 years, where once we get back to all-time highs, is it just going to keep going for years? I think that part is over, and that's why I want to point out, what's sort of the what's the thinking here is that yes, we could make marginal new highs. It's entirely possible. Again, geopolitical concerns are, to me, something that's underpriced right now, but it's difficult to price that in. That's typically where the black swans come in, or at least a kind of known unknown kind of thing. But look, the S&P here, you can see it. I mean, one thing that's just unbelievable, but again, the reality, and we have to respect it, is if you look at what happened over the past number of hours, we had essentially, President Trump tweeting and saying, it's hard to make a deal with Xi, yet the equity market went up, the futures, when that happened. It's incredible, right? If this would have happened a month ago, the market would be down 5%. Today it's up, or it was up at the time when that happened. So it tells you that the tariff thing is basically a non-event right now. But it's also what's happening is we're seeing a lot of stimulus. So we're seeing, I've said this yesterday and then the days before, the U.S. deficit spending, it's very clear we're not going to do a better budget. It's just going to be more spending, at least for now. The Chinese are stimulating. Europe is investing a lot, right? And so globally, global money supply, liquidity, right, is going up. And that's stimulative. So at this point, the tariff stuff is becoming less important, right? So I would just keep that in mind. That's why, to me, it's difficult to be outright bearish here. At the margin, I want to trade things from the long side. But again, very mindful to geopolitical risks and other potential tape bombs. May not be a a good word to use here, but that's the definition of sort of a news event like that, to hit at any given point. So that's where we are. Most stocks look exactly like this. It's a correlation of 1. I'll give you a couple ideas that we're looking at. If you're an Inner Circle member, you should have already received the trade alert on this. But, for example, you look at something like DocuSign, and this is straight from our market rover, which is giving us a bullish signal and the trender too. So from a trend following and from a momentum signal, something like DocuSign just doesn't look bearish, right? Looks like it wants to push higher, maybe towards $100. So just to give you an idea there. But if you guys remember, yesterday we talked a lot about gold and silver. It's consolidating a little bit here over the past overnight, basically. But silver held up well yesterday. It's down a little bit this morning, but basically flat. But you guys remember this ticker, UASS? If you were here yesterday, if you were here 2 weeks ago, and I made a big deal, talked about this real time to our clients in our clients' channels in real time. USAS, we talked about it here yesterday. We talked about it, I think almost every day for the past week or two. So yesterday, this thing finally popped 18, almost 19%. This is a complete gambler, chart chaser, type of stock. It's literally a freaking penny stock, but it's in the gold and silver space. It popped 19% yesterday. Why? I'm not even sure it matters. It's a penny stock. It's being driven by Reddit clowns and all that stuff over there. But we saw a high potential of this thing rallying because, again, of what I just mentioned. A, gold and silver are doing very well, and B, the complete degenerate gamblers, which come out in force when liquidity goes up, money supply and all that stuff, need have more gambling ammunition, and so they start chasing something that's higher. So all these things are going to end up blowing up people's accounts, but there is money to be made from a trading perspective, and so I just want to show you this one here since we've talked about it. I don't know if this needs to be bought up here anymore. To me, the trade is over. 19% after a breakout is pretty amazing. I'm sure some people will try to buy it up here and then ultimately lose all their money, but I just want to show you that the thinking here is larger liquidity, more stimulus globally leads to things like this being chased higher. So there's opportunity here. Certainly, not advice, just education. But with a little bit of money being put into complete gambling stuff like this, it might be worth trying here and there. So just want to kind of give you that. Hopefully, some of you took advantage of it. If you didn't, either way, that we mentioned it yesterday and 2 weeks ago and last week and all the time. So where does it take us next? Well, I will tell you that our really, really, really bullish thesis on energy and all that stuff, and it's not detectable on the XLE ETF because this is largely dominated by Chevron and Exxon. But the underlying or the tailwinds are starting to blow really hard for the whole energy trade to start working. And one thing that we really like there is the materials, because without materials, without basically copper and a bunch of other stuff like that, hard assets, the energy transition, the energy demand, such as uranium meaning nuclear energy, it's just not going to happen. Natural gas is very, very closely tied to this. So we are unbelievably bullish on whether it's just materials. Just making a note here. XLB is just one way of playing that. That's just by the way, XLB materials is the smallest allocation in the S&P 500. It's completely underinvested. No one gives a shit. Everyone's only in Microsoft and chasing Palantirs and those names. A lot of those people are going to lose all their money because they're going to be constantly getting their asses whipped on their zero DTE gambler calls that they're buying. But this stuff has real tailwinds, right? So material stocks are just starting to get going. So you look at something like a VMC. This is an individual stock. Vulcan Materials, for example. It's just to give you another name here. If you want to look at it technically, that's fine. Just know that this is very squarely in the material space. You can draw lines and do all sorts of things, but the most important thing is that there's a tailwind, more broadly speaking, in this space. So Vulcan Materials, wouldn't be surprised that this turns into a $400 stock at some point. So that's another interesting name, very bullish. And then the whole uranium thing. We've had a really, really big move in uranium, URA, the ETF already. You look at Cameco, CCJ, all that stuff. And I would argue at this point we're probably overbought, but overbought can get way more overbought in something like this, right? So you look at something like URA, the ETF, and yes, we've had a huge move. And again, the Vertical X Pro told us, and I was showing this here. Let me show you this here. Our Vertical X Pro. For those of you guys using our Vertical X Pro, we talked about how the uranium trade URA got overbought, and it remains overbought, right? It doesn't mean that it's a short. Like I wouldn't dare to short this stuff here, but it's overbought, meaning it's probably time to maybe clip some if one is long. But it doesn't mean it has to go down. So to me, I'm not really willing to chase it here. But as an investment, we hold it in a lot of our client portfolios over at Blue Marlin Advisors. That's our investment advisory firm. And I'm not changing that allocation there because those are more investments, not gambler short, very, very short-dated trades. So if I wouldn't have an allocation, I would probably still add it here. But that's more from through a multi-quarter, multi-year lens as opposed to a multi-day, multi-week lens. So URA, it's just that whole space is getting so bullish, and there's a lot of now bullish chatter over from the White House. Not to mention just the fact that we need a ton more energy, so it's not like this is happening for no reason. If you're looking at natural gas, actually before we look at Cheniere, let me show you what's happening with natural gas. We'll just pull up the ETF. Doesn't look spectacular. In fact, it looks like a complete, excuse my technical term, looks like a turd technically, but we're probably just one push away from this turning very, very bullish. It's technically not very sound yet, but natural gas has the ability to very quickly turn into a much more bullish, constructive trade. If you look at just some individual stocks like Cheniere Energy, ticker symbol LNG, is one name there that this one looks a lot more sound. It's as a stock now, not a commodity or an ETF, but it tells us the same story. So I'm extremely bullish on this entire space. We're constructing portfolios for our clients over on the Blue Marlin side that are very energy focused, like as part of a portfolio, right? That has all sorts of stuff in it. I think that's very important. If you're an ETF Silo Pro member, you know that we have a big focus there. We're going to continue adding more stuff, and of course, if you are a user of Heatseeker, which is our peer focus sort of newsletter on materials and this entire thesis, you know that as well. One more question here coming in from, and if you guys have questions, please let me know. What about TAN? Look, TAN is a different story. So TAN is essentially falls into the clean energy space. Maybe, right? This is basically First Solar. So for those of you guys that are ETF Silo Pro members, you have access to our, let me show you this quickly. You have access to our ETFs ranker. Let me just quickly show you this so you can see, so we can see what TAN looks like. Let me just quickly show you this. Here, I'm going to quickly bring something over here so you guys can all see this. Let me just quickly give you an idea of this. This question was being asked by Tony. He wants to know, so we've got this algorithm that basically ranks ETFs both in the long term and short term, gives us trades. So TAN, 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 is the solar ETF. This is clean energy. It's a bit different. So it's short term bullish, but long term it's not yet bullish. More importantly, you're wondering about the holdings of this thing. You can see that First Solar is a 12% holding of this. Between that one and NXT, you're looking at, you know, almost a quarter, actually a quarter of it in two stocks. So unless First Solar and that stock, and they're closely correlated, move, TAN is not going to move. So you just have to keep that in mind. But it is short-term bullish. I don't think it's the same story, because what we're looking at here is we're looking at building out the infrastructure. This is a derivative play, meaning this is not the main story. I do think it could work, but I need to see this starting to act better. I need to start seeing this turning into higher highs, meaning above 35. Again, short term, maybe there's a trade, but it's not the main story. The main story is copper, again, the materials. And again, for those of you guys that are Heat Seeker members or ETF Salo Pro members, you know that's a big thesis of ours, and we're just getting started on this. I think this is just the beginning of it all. So if you're an ETF Salo Pro member, go check out TAN and our ETF ranker. This is our algo that gives us both trades. And the next, by the way, the next upside target for TAN is 35.47. That's what our algorithm is telling us here from a trading perspective. But again, keep in mind that it's only got two stocks that are 25% of the ETF. So that's that. Anyway, folks, we're running a bit long here, so I'm going to stop it here. If you are an ETF Salo Pro member, by the way, we're having a member session at the top of the hour, 10 o'clock East Coast time here. So that's in about 40 minutes. We'll see you guys over there. If you are a member otherwise, we'll see you over in trade ops, where I'm sure there's some trades to do here. It looks like the market's still bullishly tilted. So thanks all for being here. Again, please subscribe to the channel. It's free, obviously. Give us a thumbs up, like, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Until then, trade and well.